An Autumn Walk with Deborah by Eolian Harp. Read for LibriVox.org by Amy Huang. Over the limp and sallow grasses, Deborah, will you walk with me? You may gather gentians and purple masses and honey pots from the locust tree. Brown leaves cover the partridge berry, holding it safe for your eager hand. Barberry bright and cornelian cherry, offering scarlet jewels stand. I shall dress you up as an elf queen, twining bittersweet wreaths for your golden head. Your leaf-brown cloak with its orange lining, I shall hang with garlands, yellow and red. Let us leave this place while the sunlight lingers, lest the elves should covet your beauty bright. The gentians fall from your tired fingers as I carry you home through the fading light. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
At the Closed Gate of Justice by James D. Carruthers. Read for LibriVox.org by A.B. Morgan. To be a Negro in a day like this demands forgiveness. Bruised with blow on blow, betrayed, like him whose woe-dimmed eyes gave bliss, still must one succor those who brought one low. To be a Negro in a day like this. To be a Negro in a day like this demands rare patience, patience that can wait in utter darkness. 'Tis the path to miss, and knock, unheeded, at an iron gate, to be a Negro in a day like this. To be a Negro in a day like this demands strange loyalty. We serve a flag which is to us white freedom's emphasis. Ah, one must love when truth and justice lag, to be a Negro in a day like this. To be a Negro in a day like this, alas, Lord God, what evil have we done? Still shines the gate all gold and amethyst, but I pass by the glorious goal unwon, merely a Negro in a day like this. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Autumn Evening by Ford Madox Ford. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. The cold light dies, the candles glow, the wind whirls down the bare alley. Outside my gleaming window panes the phantom populations go, blown amid leaves, above, below. Yet these are solid German folk outside, beneath the thinning plains, and the reflections that awoke at candle-time upon my panes are misty, unsubstantial gleams. Only outside, obscurity, the waning light, the cold blue beams and rafts of shadow trick the eye, so that the frozen passers-by look ghosts, and only real seems my candle-lighted, lonely place, the gleaming windows, and your face, looking in likeness from the wall, where the fantastic shadows fall. Now the ghosts pass, the cold wind cries, the leaves sift downwards, the world dies, but in the shadows, lo, your eyes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Blind Girl by Nathalia Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. In the darkness, who would answer for the color of a rose, or the vestments of the May moth and the pilgrimage it goes? In the darkness, who would answer? In the darkness, who would care if the odor of the roses and the winged things were there? In the darkness, who would cavil o'er the question of a line, since the darkness holds all loveliness beyond the mere design? O night, thy soothing prophecies companion all our ways, until releasing hands let fall the catalogue of days. In the darkness, who would answer for the color of a rose, or the vestments of the May moth and the pilgrimage it goes? In the darkness, who would answer? In the darkness, who would care if the odor of the roses and the better things were there? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Calm That Comes with Years by Amy Redpath Roddick. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I cannot write of turmoil, I cannot write of strife. Long since has gone the passion I used to think was life. A calmness rests upon me, a calm I cannot break. Though worlds are trembling round me, and freedom is at stake. Because I have no sorrows, because my heart's at rest, I cannot weep with others whose hearts are not so blessed. I tremble for no hero upon the fields of France. I cannot curse the Nero who planned this gory dance. Though woman fast is winning her place in council halls, by work where talent leads her, by work where mercy calls, I feel no keen elation to know her triumph's near. A triumph most unselfish, a heavier weight to bear. The calm that rests upon me, the calm that comes with years, suggests that man's impatience is the cause of most he fears, suggests that war's upheaval is but the anvil clink, the welding by the forger of yet another link in that great chain of progress that binds successive time from chaos on to order, and then to heights sublime. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Changed by Charles S. Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Dixon. I know not why my soul is racked, why I ne'er smile as was my wont. I only know that, as a fact, I don't. I used to roam o'er glen and glade, buoyant and blithe as other folk, and not unfrequently I made a joke. A minstrel's fire within me burned, I'd sing as one whose heart must break. Lay upon lay, I nearly learned to shake. All day I sang of love, of fame, of fights our fathers fought of yore, until the thing almost became a bore. I cannot sing the old songs now. It is not that I deem them low, 'tis that I can't remember how they go. I could not range the hills till high, above me stood the summer moon, and as to dancing I could fly as soon. The sports to which with boyish glee
I sprang erewhile, attract no more, although I am but 63 or 4. Nay, worse than that I've seemed of late, to shrink from happy boyhood. Boys have grown so noisy, and I hate a noise. They fright me when the beech is green, by swarming up its stem for eggs. They drive their horrid hoops between my legs. It's idle to repine, I know. I'll tell you what I'll do instead. I'll drink my arrowroot and go to bed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Christ in the Universe by Alice Meynell. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. With this ambiguous earth his dealings have been told us. These abide: the signal to a maid, the human birth, the lesson, and the young man crucified. But not a star of all the innumerable hosts of stars has heard how he administered this terrestrial ball. Our race have kept their Lord's entrusted word. Of his earth-visiting feat none knows the secret, cherished, perilous, the terrible, shamefast, frighted, whispered, sweet, heart-shattering secret of his way with us. No planet knows that this, our wayside planet carrying land and wave, love and life multiplied, and pain and bliss, bears as chief treasure one forsaken grave. Nor in our little day may his devices with the heavens be guessed, his pilgrimage to thread the Milky Way, or his bestowals there be manifest. But in the eternities doubtless we shall compare together, hear a million alien gospels, in what guise he trod the Pleiades, the lyre, the bear. Oh, be prepared, my soul, to read the inconceivable, to scan the million forms of God those stars unroll, when in our turn we show them to a man. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Contrary Cognomens by Arthur M. Forrester. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. If you wanted fry to cook a chop, you'd find yourself mistaken, and pills, not rashers, form the stock of enterprising bacon. Tailor goes in for selling boots, whilst butler's a musician, and cooper couldn't coop a tub with any expedition. Long's only 4'6", but short's miraculously long. Strong's dying of consumption, but the weak's continue strong. It's strange to find that butcher is a vegetarian, that brewer is teetotal, and Goodchild a bad old man. Parson's a publican, and church an unbeliever. Lawless a solicitor, true love a gay deceiver. Steele deals in soft goods, draper's ware is advertised as hard, and Campbell would be shocked at sight of domino or card. Right's wrong as oft as anyone, Dolman is smart and witty, Misfortune is the luckiest young lady in the city. Gray's black, black's red, green's brown, and Gay is always on the mope. Leggett is doomed to crutches, and old Curly bald as soap. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Coming Spring by Max Easton. Read for LibriVox.org. Ice is marching down the river, gaily out to sea. Sunbeams over the snow hills quiver, setting torrents free. Yellow are the water willows, yellow clouds are they, rising where the laden billows swell along their way. Arrows of the sun are flying, winter flees the light, and this chilly horn is sighing all the moisty night. Lovers of the balmy weather, lovers of the sun, drifts and duty melt together, get your labors done. Ice is marching down the river, gaily out to sea. Sing the healthy-hearted ever, spring is liberty. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cosmic Fabric by Yakov Polonsky. 1819 to 1898. Translated by Avraham Yarmolinsky and Cecil Kodre. Read for LibriVox.org. The Cosmic Fabric. This vast web of nature's weaving is God's garment, so 'tis said. In that fabric I, a living I, a still unbroken thread. And the threads run swiftly, never halting. Yet if once they sever, seer or sage shall not suffice then the parted strands to splice. For the weaver so will veil them that, let him who may bewail them, none the end shall ever find, nor one broken thread rebind. Ceaselessly the threads are breaking, short, ah short will be my span. Meanwhile at his fabric's making toils the cosmic artisan. Curious patterns still designing, wave and crested hill defining, steppe and pasture, cloud and sky, wood and field of golden rye. Though with care the wise may scan it, flawless since that hand began it, smooth and fine with fair accord, shines the garment of the Lord. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Count That Day Lost by George Eliot. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. If you sit down at set of sun and count the acts that you have done, and counting find one self-denying deed, one word that eased the heart of him who heard, one glance most kind that fell like sunshine where it went, then you may count that day well spent. But if, through all the livelong day, you've cheered no heart by yea or nay, if through it all you've done nothing that you can trace that brought the sunshine to one face, no act most small that helped some soul and nothing cost, then count that day as worse than lost. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cremation of Sam McGee by Robert W. Service. Read for LibriVox.org by Wayne Cooke. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was the night on the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the South to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him in like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way that he'd sooner live in hell. On a Christmas day we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk of your cold, through the parka's fold that stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd closed, then the lashes froze till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed, and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me, and Cap, says he, I'll cash in this trip, I guess, and if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request. Well, he seemed so low that I couldn't say no. Then he says with a sort of moan, It's the cursed cold. It's got the right hold till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. Yet 'tain't being dead. It's my awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that, foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains. A pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail, and we started on at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched on the sleigh, and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee, and before nightfall a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid, because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate those last remains." Now a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart how I cursed that load. In the long, long night, by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the homeless snows, O God, how I loathed the thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavy and heavier grow, and on I went, though the dogs were spent and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in, and I'd often sing to the hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin. Till I came to the marge of Lake Labarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a thrice it was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. Then here, says I with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames just soared, and the furnace roared, such a breeze you'll seldom see. And I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out, and they danced about ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, "I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and it's time I looked." Then the door I opened wide, and there sat Sam, looking cool and calm in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile you could see a mile, and he said, "Please close that door. It's fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Since I left Plumtree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm." There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge I cremated Sam McGee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cry of the Peasant by Nikolay Nekrasov, 1821 to 1878. Read for LibriVox.org. The Cry of the Peasant. Show me the peasant's cottage. Such cot ne'er met my eyes, where he who sows and guards our land groans not in grievous wise. He groans on field and highway, at night upon the plains. He groans in prison and in jail. in mines and iron chains. He groans in his own hovel, robbed of God's sunshine fair, groans in each dull and petty town, waiting for justice there. Volga in spring's full flood time over the land spreads wide, but Russia's flood of suffering fills it with fuller tide. Where the people is, groans are. O folk of my heart, what means it? Shall sorrow be ever your part? Will you wake up at length in the fullness of strength, or obeying the law of the world in its course, have you spent all your force? Has the song, one long groan, you created, expressed all you are? Has your spirit forever sunk down into rest? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Drab Bonnets by Bernard Barton. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Drab Bonnets. Verses occasioned by reading in a morning paper that at a meeting convened in London for some charitable purpose, among other ladies we observed a considerable number whose drab bonnets bespoke them members of the Society of Friends. They make cant of costumes and of brilliant head-dresses à la grecque, à la Françoise, or what else they will. They may talk of tiaras that glitter on tresses, enwreathed by the Graces, and braided with skill. Yet to my partial glance I confess the drab bonnet is the loveliest of any, and most when it bears not only the bright gloss of neatness upon it, but beneath the expression benevolence wears. Then let fashion exult in her frequent vagaries. From her fascinations my favourite is free. Be folly's the headgear that momently varies, but a bonnet of drab is the sweetest to me. Though stately the ostrich plume, gracefully throwing its feathery flashes light on the eye, though tasty and trim the straw bonnet when glowing, with its ribbons so glossy of various dye, yet still I must own, although none may seem duller than a simple drab bonnet to many a gaze, it is and it will be the favourite colour around which my fancy delightedly plays, and it well suits my muse with a garland to wreathe it, and echo its praises with gratefullest glee, for knowing the goodness that oft lurks beneath it, the bonnet of drab beats a turban with me. Full many a gem, as the poet has chaunted, in the depths of the ocean flings round it its sheen, and many a floweret its beauties unvaunted springs to life, sheds its perfume, and withers unseen. And well do I know that our sisterhood numbers, arrayed in the livery that coxcombs reprove, forms as fair as ever rose on a poet's sweet slumbers, and faces as lovely as ever taught love. This I know and have felt, and thus knowing and feeling a recreant minstrel I surely should be, if my heartfelt attachment ignobly concealing, the bonnet of drab passed unhonoured by me. I have basked in the blaze of both beauty and fashion, have seen these united with gifts rich and rare, and crowned with a heart that could cherish compassion, and by sympathy soften what sorrow must bear. Yet acknowledging this, which I can do sincerely, far the highest enjoyment this bosom ever knew, the glance which it treasures most fondly, most dearly, beamed from under a bonnet of drab-coloured hue. 'Twas my pleasure, my pride, it is past and has perished, like the track of a ship over the dark heaving sea, but its loveliness lives, its remembrance is cherished, and the bonnet of drab is still beauteous to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Echoes by Hazel Hall. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter O'Donovan. Echoes. Day long I hear life's sounds beat like the sea. Day long, They sweep their deep tide rhythms over me, and as a song reiterated, fall unmeaningly. Where once I bent life's echoes to my will, day after day, following wings of sound over the sill, far, far away, now my sick fancy lies inert and still. Silence that slowly wraps me with the ease of dreamed-out sleep, quenches the sound of vague realities whose echoes keep their rhythms like old winds in drying seas. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Aeolian Harp by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Daniel Davison. The Aeolian Harp. My pensive Sherr, thy soft cheek reclined thus on mine arm, most soothing sweet it is to sit beside our cot o'ergrown with white-flowered jasmine and the broad-leaved myrtle, meet emblems they of innocence and love, and watch the clouds that late were rich with light, slow saddening round, and mark the star of eve serenely brilliant, such should wisdom be, shine opposite. How exquisite the sense, snatched from yon bean field, and the world so hushed. The stilly murmur of the distant sea tells us of silence, and the simplest lute placed lengthways in the clasping casement. Hark! How by the desultory breeze caressed, like some coy maid half yielding to her lover, it pours such sweet upbraidings as must needs tempt to repeat the wrong. And now it strings boldly asweep the long sequacious notes, over delicious surges sink and rise, such a soft-floating witchery of sound as twilight elfins make when they at eve voyage on gentle gales from fairyland, where melodies round honey-dropping flowers, footless and wild, like birds of paradise, nor pause nor perch, hovering on untamed wing. Oh, the one life within us and abroad, which meets all motion and becomes its soul. A light in sound, a sound like power in light, rhythm in all thought, and joyance everywhere. Methinks it should have been impossible not to love all things in a world so filled, where the breeze warbles, and the mute, still air is music slumbering on her instrument. And thus, my love, as on the midway slope of yonder hill I stretch my limbs at noon, whilst through my half-closed eyelids I behold the sunbeams dance like diamonds on the main, and tranquil muse upon tranquillity. Full many a thought uncalled and undetained, and many idle flitting fantasies traverse my indolent and passive brain, as wild and various as the random gales that swell or flutter on this subject lute. And what if all of animated nature be but organic harps, diversely framed, that tremble into thought, as o'er them sweeps, plastic and vast, one intellectual breeze, at once the soul of each and God of all? But thy more serious eye, a mild reproof, darts, O beloved woman, nor such thoughts, dim and unhallowed, dost thou not reject, and biddest me walk humbly with my God, meek daughter in the family of Christ. Well hast thou said, and holily dispraised these shapings of the unregenerate mind, bubbles that glitter as they rise and break on vain philosophies, aye, babbling spring. For never guiltless may I speak of him, the incomprehensible, save when with awe I praise him, and with faith that inly feels, who with his saving mercies healed me, a sinful and most miserable man, wildered and dark, and gave me to possess peace and this cot and thee, heart-honored maid. End of the Aeolian Harp by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Everlasting Farewells by Alice Meynell. Read for LibriVox.org by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. Farewells! Oh, what a word. Denying this agony, denying the affrights, denying all De Quincey spoke or heard in the infernal sadness of his nights. How mend these strange farewells, vale, adieu, le voile. Not one but seems a tranquil refutation, tolling bells that yet behold the terror of his dreams. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Exile by Ford Madox Ford. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. My father had many oxen, yet all are gone. My father had many servants, I sit alone. He followed the southern women, he drank of the southern wines, he fought in the southern quarrels. My star declines. I will go to the southern houses, I will sit mid the maids' attire, I will bear their meat to the tables, and carry wood to their fire. Where the cheep of the rat and mouse is, all night long will I lie, awake in the byres and the stables. When the white moon looks from the sky, and over the southern waters, and the wind blows warm from the south, with the bitter tears in my eyelids, and the heavy sighs in my mouth, I shall hear through the gaping gables how the southern night bird sings of hirelings once queens' daughters, and slaves the seed of kings. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Experience by Aileen Kilmer. Read for LibriVox.org by Amy Huang. Deborah danced when she was 2, as buttercups and daffodils do. Spirited, frail, naively bold, her hair a ruffled crest of gold. And whenever she spoke, her voice went singing, like water up from a fountain springing. But now her step is quiet and slow. She walks the way primroses go. Her hair is yellow instead of gilt. Her voice is losing its lovely lilt. And in place of her wild, delightful ways, a quaint precision rules her days. For Deborah now is 3, and oh, she knows so much that she did not know. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Forever by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I had not known before forever was so long a word. The slow stroke of the clock of time I had not heard. 'Tis hard to learn so late. It seems no sad heart really learns, but hopes and trusts and doubts and fears, and bleeds and burns. The night is not all dark, nor is the day all it seems, but each may bring me this relief, my dreams and dreams. I had not known before that never was so sad a word, so wrap me in forgetfulness. I have not heard. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Garden by Thomas Campion. Matt. There is a garden in her face, where roses and white lilies grow. A heavenly paradise is that place, wherein all pleasant fruits do flow. These cherries grow which none may buy, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. Those cherries fairly do enclose, of orient pearl a double row, which when her lovely laughter shows, they look like rosebuds filled with snow. Yet them nor peer nor prince can buy, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. Her eyes like angels watch them still, her brows like bended bows do stand, threatening with piercing frowns to kill all that attempts with eye or hand. Those sacred cherries too come nigh, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Garden by the Sea by William Morris, read for LibriVox.org by David Gales. I know a little garden close, set thick with lily and red rose, where I would wander if I might from dewy morn to dewy night, and have one with me wandering. And though within it no birds sing, and though no pillared house is there, and though the apple boughs are bare of fruit and blossom, would to God her feet upon the green grass trod, and I beheld them as before. There comes a murmur from the shore, and in the close 2 fair streams are drawn from the purple hills afar, drawn down unto the restless sea, dark hills, whose heath bloom feeds no bee, dark shore no ship has ever seen, tormented by the billows green, whose murmur comes unceasingly unto the place for which I cry both day and night, for which I let slip all delight, whereby I grow both deaf and blind, careless to win, unskilled to find, and quick to lose what all men seek. Yet tottering as I am, and weak, still have I left a little breath, to seek within the jaws of death an entrance to that happy place, to seek the unforgotten face, once seen, once kissed, once reft from me, anigh the murmuring of the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Going West by Amy Redpath Roddick. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. A pulsing silence shrouds me round, like waves one feels but hears no sound. Then slowly, as from realms above, there come soft whispered words of love, and something presses on my heart, of my own self it seems a part. So very close I feel her head, and now I know she is not dead. I try to break the secret charm that weighs upon my nerveless arm. I want to hold my love so close she will not wonder whilst I doze. I think I fell asleep. The silence seemed more deep. I could not catch the beat. The noiseless waves repeat. Again there comes that soundless sound, the heavy, ceaseless, rhythmic pound. Is it the throb of worlds alive? Is it the hum of some near hive? My own tired pulse may be the cause of what is more like faint applause, of what might be a funeral drum, so muffled to be almost dumb. But no, that pressure on my heart reminds me, with a sudden dart of pain, so keen it seems to thrill, that my dear love is by me still. And now I understand the meaning of that band. Her heart is beating time in unison with mine. Again those words of love I hear, but now they are so very near. They're telling me of deeds I've done, and of the wished-for cross I've won. So after all, my life's not lost. amidst that fiery holocaust. I've done what I was meant to do. What matter if the fight's not through? My little love, your head is pressed too close upon my burning breast, and yet it seems that while you press, the pain is growing less and less. Perhaps I'm going west. I'm tired, I want to rest. My breathing's slow and deep. I'm sinking fast asleep. In shell-tossed no man's land they saw him, lying, unconscious, smiling in his sleep, but dying. His broken arm hung limp. A mortal wound gaped wide above his heart, on which they found, tight pressed, the picture of his youthful bride, whose grave is swept by ocean's restless tide. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Good Morrow by John Donne. Read for LibriVox.org by Jeanne Viray. I wonder by my troth what thou and I did till we loved. Were we not weaned till then, but sucked on country pleasures childishly? Or snorted we in the seven sleepers' den? 'Twas so. But this, all pleasures fancies be, if ever any beauty I did see, which I desired and got, 'twas but a dream of thee. And now good morrow to our waking souls, which watch not one another out of fear, for love all love of other sights controls, and makes one little room an everywhere. Let sea discoverers to new worlds have gone, let maps to other worlds on worlds have shown. Let us possess one world, each hath one and is one. My face in thine eye, thine in mine appears, and true plain hearts do in the faces rest. Where can we find two better hemispheres, without sharp north, without declining west? Whatever dies was not mixed equally. If our two loves be one, or thou and I, love so alike that none can slacken, none can die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Good Old Days by Amy Redpath Ruddock. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. In the evening, mysteries come creeping into our garden, and the slanting beams of the settling sun enhance by their mellowing glow the loveliness of trees and lawns and flowers. The weeds now have their hour of beauty. The dying cedar hedge is fashioned of golden tissue. The falling apple blossoms are fairy butterflies, and the peace of God enfolds the troubled heart of man. As the evening of life draws on, memory, the wonder-worker, casts her magic spell over the past, with its strivings and failures, its sorrows and hardships, mingling them with its joys and successes, till the good old days become as perfect as our garden in the twilight hour. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Grave of Howard by Louis Way. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Grave of Howard, written on the plains of Cherson, May 1818. O friend of man, beloved of God, thy grave by Christian pilgrims trod, to Christian memory dear, demands a tributary sigh, and draws from sympathetic eye compassion's holy tear. For not the world's expanse to scan, but search and soothe the woes of man, thy footsteps hither bend. Outstrip the proud oppressor's claim, and prison walls record a name that needs no monument. Yet, Howard, where thy bones are laid, imperial tribute shall be paid from Caesar's liberal store. Friend of humanity, like thee, Caesar to set the captive free unbars the prison door. Prisoners of hope, to whom belong the promises of sacred song, lift up your eyes and see Jerusalem in bonds below. At length thy great deliverer know, like that above, be free. Ye bones that in the valley shake, the bands of death and darkness break, start up to life anew. The voice that calls the captive forth says to the Cyrus of the north, come, I have called you. Nor Britons only leave their isle, that freedom's animating smile may cheer the dungeon's gloom, but soon the Saviour's face divine on each imprisoned soul shall shine, and speak his kingdom come. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Gunga Din by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org by Wayne Cooke. You may talk of gin and beer when you're quartered safe out here, and your centre penny fights nor to shot it. But when it comes to slaughter, you will do your work on water, and you'll lick the bloomin' boots of him that's got it. Now in India's sunny clime, where I used to spend my time a serving of Her Majesty the Queen, of all them black-faced crew, the finest man I knew was our regimental beastie, Gunga Din. He was Din, 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 you limpin' luck of brickless Gunga Din. I slippery heather ho, water get it parley low, you squidgy-nosed old idle Gunga Din. The uniform he wore was nothing much before, and rather less than half of that behind, for a piece of twisty rag and a goatskin water bag was all the field equipment he could find. When the sweating troop train lying a-siding through the day, where the heat would make your bloomin' eyebrows crawl, we shouted "Harry, by!" till our throats were bricky dry. Then we whopped him 'cause he couldn't serve us all. It was Din, 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 you heathen, where the mischief have you been? You put some jewelry in it, or I'll marrow you this minute, if you don't fill up me helmet, Gunga Din. He would dot and carry one till the longest day was done, and he didn't seem to know the use of fear. If we charged or broke a cut, you could bet your bloomin' nut he'd be waiting 50 paces right flank rear. With his musket on his back, he would skip with our attack, and watch us till the bugles made retire. And for all his dirty-eyed, he was white, clear white inside, when he went to tend the wounded under fire. It was Din, 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 when the bullets kicking dust spots in the green. When the cartridges ran out, you could hear the front file shout, "Aye, ammunition mules!" and Gunga Din. I shan't forget the night when I dropped behind the fight with a bullet where my belt plate should have been. I was choking mad with thirst, and the man that spied me first was our good old grinning, grunting Gunga Din. He lifted up me head, and he plugged me where I bled, and he gave me half a pint of water green. It was crawling and it stunk, but of all the drinks I've drunk, I'm gratefulest to one from Gunga Din. It was Din, 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 here's a biker with a bullet through its spleen. He's chawing up the ground and he's kicking all around. For God's sake, get the water, Gunga Din. He carried me away to where Dooley lay, and a bullet come and drilled the beggar clean. He put me safe inside, and just before he died, "I hope you like your drink," says Gunga Din. So I meet him later on at the place where he is gone, where it's always double drill and no canteen. He'll be squatting on the cows giving drink to poor damn sows, and I'll get a swig in hell from Gunga Din. Yes, Din, 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 you lads of sherry and leather Gunga Din. Though I belted you and flayed you, by the living God that made you, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Habit by Hazel Hall. Read for LibriVox.org by Peter O'Donovan. Habit. Last night when my work was done, and my estranged hands were becoming mutually interested in such forgotten things as pulses, I looked out of a window into a glittering night sky, and instantly I began to feather stitch a ring around the moon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Happy Child by W. H. Davies. Read for LibriVox.org by Amatullah Talks. I saw this day sweet flowers grow thick, but not one like the child did pick. I heard the pack-hounds in Green Park, but no dog like the child heard bark. I heard this day bird after bird, but not one like the child has heard. 100 butterflies saw I, but not one like the child saw fly. I saw the horses roll in grass, but no horse like the child saw pass. My world this day has lovely been, but not like what the child has seen. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Do Not Love Thee by Carolyn Norton. Read for LibriVox.org by EliseDee. I do not love thee, no, I do not love thee. And yet, when thou art absent, I am sad, and envy even the bright blue sky above thee, whose quiet stars may see thee and be glad. I do not love thee, yet, I know not why, whatever thou does seems still well done to me, and often in my solitude I sigh that those I do love are not more like thee. I do not love thee, yet when thou art gone I hate the sound, though those who speak be dear, which breaks the lingering echo of the tone thy voice of music leaves upon my ear. I do not love thee, yet thy speaking eyes, with their deep, bright, and most expressive blue, between me and the midnight heaven arise, oftener than any eyes I ever knew. I know I do not love thee, yet, alas, others will scarcely trust my candid heart, and oft I catch them smiling as they pass, because they see me gazing where thou art. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In Spring, Santa Barbara by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Davis Faherty. I have been happy 2 weeks together. My love is coming home to me. Gold and silver is the weather, and smooth as lapis is the sea. The earth has turned its brown to green after 3 nights of humming rain, and in the valleys peck and preen linnets with a scarlet stain. High in the mountains, all alone, the wild swans whistle on the lakes. But I have been as still as stone. My heart sings only when it breaks. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In the Firelight by Eugene Field. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Dixon. The fire upon the hearth is low, and there is stillness everywhere, and like winged spirits everywhere, the firelight shadows fluttering go. And as the shadows round me creep, a childish treble breaks the gloom, and softly from a further room comes Now I lay me down to sleep. And somehow with that little prayer, and that sweet treble in my ears, my thoughts goes back to distant years, and lingers with a dear one there. And as I hear my child's amen, my mother's faith comes back to me. Crouched at her side I seem to be, and mother holds my hands again. Oh, for an hour in that dear place, oh, for that childish trust sublime, oh, for a glimpse of mother's face, yet as the shadows round me creep, I do not seem to be alone. Sweet magic of that treble tone, and now I lay me down to sleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Travelled Among Unknown Men by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Garfield, Dsouza. I travelled among unknown men in lands beyond the sea, nor England did I know till then what love I bore to thee. 'Tis past that melancholy dream, nor will I quit thy shore a second time, for still I seem to love thee more and more. Among thy mountains did I feel the joy of my desire, and she I cherished turned her wheel beside an English fire. Thy mornings showed, thy nights concealed, the bowers where Lucy played, and thine too is the last green field that Lucy's eyes surveyed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Sasha Beloglazova. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. The stretched and never-ending line along the margin of a bay, 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth to me the show had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lake by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gauntz. In spring of youth it was my lot to haunt of the wide earth a spot, the which I could not love the less, so lovely was the loneliness of a wild lake with black rock bound and the tall pines that towered around. But when the night had thrown her pall upon that spot as upon all, and the mystic wind went by, murmuring in melody, then, then I would awake to the terror of the lone lake. Yet that terror was not fright, but a tremulous delight, a feeling not the jeweled mind could teach or bribe me to define, nor love, although the love were thine. Death was in that poisonous wave, and in its gulf a fitting grave for him who thence could solace bring to his lone imagining, whose solitary soul could make an Eden of that dim lake. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lambs of Grasmere, 1860, by Christina Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. The upland flocks grew starved and thinned. Their shepherds scarce could feed the lambs, whose milkless mothers butted them, or who were orphaned of their dams. The lambs athirst for mother's milk filled all the place with piteous sounds. Their mother's bones made white for miles the pastureless wet pasture grounds. Day after day, night after night, from lamb to lamb the shepherds went, with teapots for their bleeding mouths, instead of nature's nourishment. The little shivering, gaping things soon knew the step that brought them aid, and fondled the protecting hand, and rubbed it with a woolly head. Then as the days waxed on to weeks, it was a pretty sight to see these lambs with frisky heads and tails, skipping and leaping on the lea, bleating in tender, trustful tones, resting on rocky crag or mound, and following the beloved feet that once had sought for them and found. These very shepherds of their flocks, these loving lambs so meek to please, are worthy of recording words and honor in their due degrees. So I might live 100 years and roam from strand to foreign strand, yet not forget this flooded spring, and scarce save lambs of Westmoreland. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Lecture Upon the Shadow by John Donne. Read for LibriVox.org by Jeanne Viray. Stand still, and I will read to thee a lecture, love, in love's philosophy. These 3 hours that we have spent, walking here, 2 shadows went along with us which we ourselves produced. But now the sun is just above our head. We do those shadows tread, and to brave clearness all things are reduced. So, whilst our infant loves did grow, disguises did and shadows flow from us and our cares. But now 'tis not so. That love has not attained the highest degree, which is still diligent lest others see. Except our loves at this noon stay, we shall new shadows make the other way. As the first were made to blind others, these which come behind will work upon ourselves and blind our eyes. If our loves faint, and westwardly decline, to me thou falsely, thine and I to thee mine actions shall disguise. The morning shadows wear away, but these grow longer all the day. But oh, love's day is short, if love decay. Love is a growing or full constant light, and his short minute after noon is night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Light is Not the Less, from Farley's Emblems, by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org. The glass gulf joined with earth's globe in one gives waters to the rivers, loseth none. The sun that makes so many glorious days doth lose no light, and still he wafts his rays. The lodestone to the iron gives verdure rare, and yet no ways his own he doth impair. So this my torch can give to others light, and still, as is his wont, shine perfect bright. Thus divine wisdom doth communicate herself, that others may participate. The good more common, better is, and grace wisheth all were partakers of her case. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love's Cryptogram by Andrew Lang, read for LibriVox.org by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland. The author, if he can be so styled, awoke from a restless sleep with the first stanza of the following piece in his mind. He has no memory of composing it, either awake or asleep. He had long known the perhaps Pythagorean fable of the bean juice, but certainly never thought of applying it to an amorous correspondence. The remaining verses are the contribution of his conscious self. Ellie, I cannot write, I may not write, I dare not write to thee. But look on the face of the moon by night, and my letters shalt thou see. For every letter that lovers write, by their loves on the moon is seen, if they pen their thought on the paper white, with the magic juice of the bean. Lou. Oh, I had written this many a year, and my letters you had read, had you only told me the spell, my dear, ere ever we twain were wed. But I have a lady, and you have a lord, and their eyes are of the green, and we dared not trust to the written word, lest our long, long love be seen. Ellie. Oh, every thought that your heart has thought, since the world came us between, the birds of the air to my heart have brought, with no word heard or seen. 'Twas thus in a dream we spoke and said, myself and my love unseen, and I woke and sighed on my weary bed, for the spell of the juice of the bean. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love's Philosophy by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Read for LibriVox.org by Princess Marvel. The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single, all things by a law divine in one another's being mingle. Why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What are all these kissings worth, if thou kiss not me? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Magician by Friedrich Nietzsche. Read for LibriVox.org by Chad Horner. Who warmeth me, who loveth me still? Give ardent fingers, give heartening charcoal warmers. Prone, outstretched, trembling, like him half dead and cold, whose feet one warmeth, and shaken by unfamiliar fevers, shivering with sharpened icy cold frost arrows. By thee pursued my fancy, ineffable, recondite, sore frightening, thy huntsman hind the cloud banks. Now lightning struck by thee, thy mocking eye, that me in darkness watcheth. Thus do I lie, bend myself, twist myself, convulsed with all eternal torture, and smitten by thee, cruelest huntsman, thy unfamiliar god. Smite deeper, smite yet once more, pierce through and rend my heart. What meaneth this torture with dull, indented arrows? Why lookest thou hither, of human pain not weary, with mischief-loving, godly flash glances? Not murder wilt thou, but torture, torture. For why me torture, thy mischief-loving, unfamiliar god? Ha ha! Thou stealest nigh, in midnight's gloomy hour. What wilt thou? Speak! Thou crowdest me, pressest. Ha! Now far too closely. Thou hearest me breathing. Thou overhearest my heart. Thou ever jealous one. Of what, pray, ever jealous? Off. For why the ladder? Wouldst thou get in? To heart in chamber, to mine own secretest conceptions in clamour. Shameless one, thou unknown one, thief! What seekest thou by thy stealing? What seekest thou by thy hearkening? What seekest thou by thy torturing? Thy torturer, thy hangman god? Or shall I, as the mastiffs do, roll me before thee, and cringing, enraptured, frantical, my tail friendly waggle? In vain, goad further, cruelest goader, no dog, thy game just am I, cruelest huntsman, thou proudest of captives, thou robber hind the cloud banks. Speak finally, thou lightning veiled one, thou unknown one, speak. What wilt thou, highway ambusher, from me? What wilt thou, unfamiliar god? What? Ransom gold? How much of ransom gold? Solicit much, that biddeth my pride, and be concise, that biddeth mine other pride. Ha ha! Me wantest thou, me entire? Ha ha! And torturest me, fool that thou art, dead torturest quite my pride. Give love to me who warmeth me still, who loveth me still. Give ardent fingers, give heartening charcoal warmers. Give me the lonesomest, the ice, sevenfold frozen ice for very enemies. For foes doth make one thirst. Give, yield to me, cruelest foe, thyself. Away, there fled he surely, my final only comrade, my greatest foe, mine unfamiliar, my hangman god. Nay, come thou back, with all of thy great tortures, to me the last of Lonesome ones, oh come thou back. All my hot tears in streamlets trickle their course to thee, and all my final hearty fervour up gloweth to thee. Oh come thou back, mine unfamiliar God, my pain, my final bliss. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Memory by Anne Bronte, read for LibriVox.org by Anna Naumoska. Brightly the sun of summer shone, green fields and waving woods upon, and soft winds wandered by. Above, a sky of purest blue, around, bright flowers of loveliest hue allured the gazer's eye. But what were all these charms to me, when one sweet breath of memory came gently wafting by? I closed my eyes against the day, and called my willing soul away from earth and air and sky, that I might simply fancy there one little flower, a primrose fair, just opening into sight, as in the days of infancy an opening primrose seemed to me a source of strange delight. Sweet memory, ever smile on me. Nature's chief beauties spring from thee. Oh, still thy tribute bring, still make the golden crocus shine among the flowers the most divine, the glory of the spring. Still in the wallflower's fragrance dwell, and hover round the slight bluebell, my childhood's darling flower. Smile on the little daisy still, the buttercup's bright goblet fill with all thy former power. Forever hang thy dreamy spell round mountain star and heather bell, and do not pass away from sparkling frost or wreathed snow, and whisper when the wild winds blow or rippling waters play. Is childhood then so all divine, or memory is the glory thine that halos thus the past? Not all divine, its pangs of grief, although perchance their stay be brief, are bitter while they last. Nor is the glory all thine own, for on our earliest joys alone that holy light is cast. With such a ray no spell of thine can make our latter pleasure shine, though long ago they passed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Minister by Fenton Johnson. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I mastered pastoral theology, the Greek of the apostles, and all the difficult subjects in a minister's curriculum. I was as learned as any in this country when the bishop ordained me, and I went to preside over Mount Moriah, largest flock in the conference. I preached the word as I felt it. I visited the sick and dying and comforted the afflicted in spirit. I loved my work because I loved my God. But I lost my charge to Sam Jenkins, who has not been to school 4 years in his life. I lost my charge because I could not make my congregation shout, and my dollar money was small, very small. Sam Jenkins can tear a Bible to tatters, and his congregation destroys the pews with their shouting and stamping. Sam Jenkins leads in the gift of raising dollar money. Such is religion. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On Time by Khalil Gibran. Read for LibriVox.org by Chad Horner. And an astronomer said, Master, what of time? And he answered, You would measure time, the measureless, and the immeasurable. You would adjust your conduct and even direct the course of your spirit according to hours and seasons. Of time you would make a stream upon whose bank you would sit and watch its flowing. Yet the timeless in you is aware of life's timelessness, and knows that yesterday is but today's memory, and tomorrow is today's dream, and that which sings and contemplates in you is still dwelling within the bounds of that first moment which scattered the stars into space. Who among you does not feel that his power to love is boundless? And yet who does not feel that very love, though boundless, encompassed within the centre of his being, and moving not from love thought to love thought, nor from love deeds to other love deeds? And is not time, even as love is, undivided and paceless? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Planet Jupiter by Epps Sargent. Read for LibriVox.org by Shuai Wang. Ever at night have I looked up for thee, o'er thy sidereal sisterhood supreme. Ever at night have scanned the purple sea for the reflection of thy quivering beam. When the white clouds thy diamond radiance screened, and the Bahama breeze began to wail, how on the plunging boats for hours I've leaned, and watched the gradual lifting of thy veil. Bright planet, nostrils effluence, thou ray from the eternal source of life and light, gleam on the track where truth shall lead the way, and guide thee inward as the outward night. Shine but as now upon my dying eyes, and hope from earth to thee, from thee to heaven shall rise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Prejudice, What Is It? By Eliza R. Snow. Read for LibriVox.org by Wayne Cooke. 'Tis not an orb dispensing light like that which shines in yonder heaven. 'Tis not a star that glitters bright like those that deck the crest of even. 'Tis not a fountain full and free whence moral beauties sweetly flow. 'Tis not a harp whose minstrelsy can intellectual charms bestow. 'Tis not a pinion formed to bear the mind where reason's hosts resort. 'Tis not a chart directing where investigation holds his court. 'Tis not a knight inspired to win the highest mental prize, forsooth. 'Tis not a monitor within which prompts a search for every truth. It is a clog prepared to hold the noble powers of reason down, a curtain whose thick sable fold the strongest vision seems to bound. It is a charm, infusing deep a deadly soporific spell, which lulls the faculties to sleep and softly whispers, all is well. It is a bolt, whose massy weight the strength and skill of truth defies, a prison wall, before whose gate bold common sense affrighted flies. It is a fetter made to bind inquiry's impulse from the soul, while ignorance sways the human mind and every power of thought control. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Scorn Not The Sonnet, Critic You Have Frowned, by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Garfield Dsouza. Scorn not the sonnet, critic, you have frowned, mindless of its just honours. With this key Shakespeare unlocked his heart. The melody of the small lute gave ease to Petrarch's wound. 1,000 times this pipe did Tasso sound. With it communes soothed an exile's grief. The sonnet glittered a gay myrtle leaf amid the cypress with which Dante crowned his visionary brow. A glowworm lamp, it cheered Miles Spencer, called from fairyland to struggle through dark ways. And when a damp fell round the path of Milton, in his hand the thing became a trumpet, whence he blew soul-animating strains. Alas, too few. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sea Jealousy by Ford Madox Ford. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Cast not your looks upon the wan grey sea, waste not your voice upon the wind. Let not your footsteps sink upon the sand, hold no sea treasure in your hand, and let no seashell in your ear, nor any sea thought in your mind murmur a mystery. Turn your soft eyes upon mine eyes that long. Let your sweet lips on mine be sealed. Fold soft, sweet hands between your sweet, soft breasts, and, as a weary sea-mew rests upon the sea, utterly, utterly yield your being up to me. And all around, grey seascape and the sound of droned sea song. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
She Dwelt Among the Untrodden Ways by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Garfield Dsouza. She dwelt among the untrodden ways, beside the springs of Dove, a maid whom there were none to praise, and very few to love. A violet by a mossy stone, half hidden from the eye, fair as a star when only one is shining in the sky. She lived unknown, and few could know when Lucy ceased to be. But she's in a grave, and oh, the difference to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shepherd by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. How sweet is the shepherd's sweet lot. From the morn to the evening he strays. He shall follow his sheep all the day, and his tongue shall be filled with praise. For he hears the lamb's innocent call, and he hears the ewes' tender reply. He is watchful while they are in peace, for they know when their shepherd is nigh. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shooting of Dan McGrew by Robert Service. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Shooting of Dan McGrew. A bunch of the boys were whooping it up in the Malamute saloon. The kid that handles the music box was hitting a jagtime tune. Back of the bar in a solo game sat Dangerous Dan McGrew. And watching his luck was his lighter love, the lady that's known as Lou. When out of the night which was 50 below, and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner fresh from the creeks, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with a foot in the grave and scarcely the strength of a louse. Yet he tilted a poke of dust on the bar and called for drinks for the house. There was none could place the stranger's face, though we searched ourselves for a clue. But we drank his health, and the last to drink was Dangerous Dan McGrew. There's men that somehow just grip your eyes and hold them hard like a spell. And such was he, and he looked to me like a man who had lived in hell. With a face most hair and the dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass and the drops fell one by one. Then I got to figuring who he was and wondering what he'd do, and I turned my head and there watching him was a lady that's known as Lou. His eyes went rubberin' round the room and he seemed in a kind of daze, till at last the old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink, there was no one left on the stool. So the stranger stumbles across the room and flops down there like a fool. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt he sat, and I saw him sway. Then he clutched the keys with his talon hands. My God, but the man could play. Were you ever out in the great alone when the moon was awful clear, and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you most could hear? With only the howl of a timber wolf, and you camped out there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold. While high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the north lights swept in bars, then you've a hunch of what the music meant, hunger and night and the stars. And hunger not of the belly kind that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of lonely men for a home and all that it means. For a fireside far from the cares that are, 4 walls and a roof above, but oh, so crammed full of cozy joy and crowned with a woman's love. A woman dearer than all the world and true as heaven is true. God, how ghastly she looks through her rouge, the lady that's known as Lou. Then on a sudden the music changed, so soft that you scarce could hear, but you felt that your life had been looted clean of all that it once held dear, that someone had stolen the woman you loved, that her love was a devil's lie, that your guts were gone and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas the crowning cry of a heart's despair, and it thrilled you through and through. I guess I'll make it a spread misere, said Dangerous Dan McGrew. The music almost died away, then it burst like a pent-up flood, and it seemed to say, repay, repay, and my eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back of an ancient wrong, and it stung like a frozen lash. And the lust awoke to kill, then the music stopped with a crash. And the stranger turned, and his eyes they burned in a most peculiar way. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt he sat, and I saw him sway. Then his lips went in a kind of grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm. And boys, says he, you don't know me, and none of you care a damn. But I want to state, and my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you is a hound of hell, and that one is Dan McGrew. Then I ducked my head, and the lights went out, and 2 guns blazed in the dark. And a woman screamed, and the lights went up, and 2 men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and pumped full of lead was Dangerous Dan McGrew, while a man from the creeks lay clutched to the breast of the lady that's known as Lou. These are the simple facts of the case, and I guess I ought to know. They say that the stranger was crazed with hooch, and I'm not denying it's so. I'm not so wise as the lawyer guys, but strictly between us two, the woman that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady that's known as Lou. End of the Shooting of Dan McGrew. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
The Sloe Was Lost in Flower by A.E. Housman. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The sloe was lost in flower, the April elm was dim. That was the lover's hour, the hour for lies and him. If thorns are all the bower, if north winds freeze the fir, why, 'tis another's hour, the hour for truth and her. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Snow Fairy by Claude McKay. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Throughout the afternoon I watched them there, snow fairies falling from the sky, whirling fantastic in the misty air, contending fierce for space supremacy. And they flew down, a mightier force, at night, as though in heaven there was revolt and riot, and they, frail things, had taken panic flight down to the calm earth, seeking peace and quiet. I went to bed and rose at early dawn to see them huddled together in a heap, each merged into the other upon the lawn, worn out by the sharp struggle, fast asleep. The sun shone brightly on them half the day. By night they stealthily had stolen away. And suddenly my thoughts then turned to you, who came to me upon a winter's night, when snow sprites round my attic window flew, your hair disheveled, eyes aglow with light. My heart was like the weather when you came. The wanton winds were blowing loud and long, but you, with joy and passion all aflame, you danced and sang a lilting summer song. I made room for you in my little bed, took covers from the closet, fresh and warm, a downful pillow for your scented head, and lay down with you resting in my arm. You went with dawn. You left me ere the day, the lonely actor of a dreamy play. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Solitude by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Danny O'Sullivan. Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone. For the sad old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble enough of its own. Sing, and the hills will answer. Sigh, it is lost on the air. The echoes bound to a joyful sound, but shrink from voicing care. Rejoice, and man will seek you. Grieve, and they turn and go. They want full measure of all your pleasure, but they do not need your woo. Be glad, and your friends are many. Be sad, and you lose them all. There are none to decline your nectared wine, but alone you must drink life's gall. Feast, and your halls are crowded. Fast, and the world goes by. Succeed and give, and it helps you live, but no man can help you die. There is room in the halls of pleasure for a long and lordly train, but one by one we must all file on through the narrow aisles of pain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sorrow by D.H. Lawrence, David Herbert Richards, read for LibriVox.org by Davis Faherty. Why does the thin gray strand floating up from the forgotten cigarette between my fingers, why does it trouble me? Ah, you will understand, when I carried my mother downstairs, a few times only at the beginning of her soft foot malady, I should find, for a reprimand to my gaiety, a few long gray hairs on the breast of my coat, and one by one I let them float up the dark chimney. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Stars Stand Up in the Air by Thomas McDonagh. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Mithali Uhri. The stars stand up in the air. The sun and the moon are gone. The strands of its waters is bare, and her sway is swept from the swan. The cuckoo was calling all day, hid in the branches above. How my Storin is fled away! 'Tis my grief that I gave her my love. 3 things through love I see: sorrow and sin and death, and my mind reminding me that this doom I breathe with my breath. But sweeter than violin or lute is my love, and she left me behind. I wish that all music were mute, and I to my beauty were blind. She's more shapely than swan by the strand. She's more radiant than grass after dew. She's more fair than the stars where they stand. 'Tis my grief that her ever I knew. End of the poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sun Glamour by Hazel Hall, read for LibriVox.org by Peter O'Donovan. Sun Glamour. The day has brought me sun-lone cheer, and to unchangeable ways change. But dusk is here to make them strange, making them clear. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sympathy by Henry David Thoreau, read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Lately, alas, I knew a gentle boy, whose features all were cast in virtue's mould, as one she had designed for beauty's toy, but after manned him for her own stronghold. On every side he open was as day, that you might see no lack of strength within. For walls and ports do only serve alway for pretence to feebleness and sin. Say not that Caesar was victorious, with toil and strife who stormed the house of fame. In other sense this youth was glorious, himself a kingdom wheresoe'er he came. No strength went out to get him victory, when all was income of its own accord. For where he went none other was to see, but all were parcel of their noble lord. He forayed like the subtle haze of summer, that stilly shows fresh landscapes to our eyes, and revolutions works without a murmur, or rustling of a leaf beneath the skies. So was I taken unawares by this, I quite forgot my homage to confess. Yet now am forced to know, though hard it is, I might have loved him, had I loved him less. Each moment as we nearer drew to each, a stern respect withheld us further yet, so that we seemed beyond each other's reach, and less acquainted than when first we met. We two were one while we did sympathize, so could we not the simplest bargain drive? And what avails it, now that we are wise, if absence doth this doubleness contrive? Eternity may not the chance repeat, but I must tread my single way alone, in sad remembrance that once we did meet, and know that bliss irrevocably gone. The spheres henceforth my elegy shall sing, for elegy has other subject none. Each strain of music in my ears shall ring, knell of departure from that other one. Make haste and celebrate my tragedy, with fitting strain resound, ye woods and fields. Sorrow is dearer in such case to me than all the joys other occasion yields. Is then too late the damage to repair? Distance, forsooth, from my weak grasp has reft the empty husk, and clutched the useless tare, but in my hands the wheat and kernel left. If I but love that virtue which he is, though it be scented in the morning air, still shall we be truest acquaintances, nor mortals know a sympathy more rare. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Three Airs from the Beggar's Opera by John Gay. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Air 11. A fox may steal your hens, sir. A fox may steal your hens, sir, a whore your health and pence, sir, your daughter may rob your chest, sir, your wife may steal your rest, sir, a thief your goods and plate. But this is all but picking, with rest, pence, chest, and chicken. It ever was decreed, sir, if lawyer's hand is feed, sir, he steals your whole estate. Air 21. If the Heart of a Man. If the heart of a man is depressed with cares, the mist is dispelled when a woman appears. Like the notes of a fiddle, she sweetly, sweetly raises the spirits and charms our ears. Roses and lilies her cheeks disclose, but her ripe lips are more sweet than those. Press her, caress her, with blisses her kisses dissolve us in pleasure and soft repose. Air 22. Youth's a season made for joys. Youth's a season made for joys, love is then our duty. She alone who that employs, well deserves her beauty. Let's be gay while we may, beauty's a flower despised in decay. Let us drink and sport today, ours is not tomorrow. Love with youth flies swift away, age is naught but sorrow. Dance and sing, time's on the wing, life never knows the return of spring. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Threshing Machine by Alice Meynell. Read for LibriVox.org by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. No fan is in his hand for these young villagers beneath the trees, watching the wheels, but I recall the rhythm of rods that rise and fall, purging the harvest overseas. No fan, no flail, no threshing floor, and all these symbols evermore forgone in England now. The sign, the visible pledge, the threat divine, the chaff dispersed, the wheat in store. The unbreathing engine marks no tune, steady at sunrise, steady at noon, inhuman, perfect, saving time, and saving measure, and saving rhyme. And did our Ruskin speak too soon? No noble strength on earth he sees, save Hercules' arm. His grave decrees curse wheel and steam. As the wheels ran, I knew the other strength of man. I knew the brain of Hercules. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Antiquity by Alice Meynell. Read for LibriVox.org by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. Oh, our young ancestor, our boy in letters, how we trudge oppressed. With our experiences, and you of yore, flew light and blessed. Youngling, in your new town, tight, like a box of toys, the town that is our shattered open ruin, with its crown of histories. You with your morning words, fresh from the night, your yet unsonneted moon, your passion undismayed, cool as a bird's ignorant tune. O youngling, how is this? Your poems are not wearied yet, not dead. Must I bow low, or, with an envious kiss, put you to bed? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Life and Death of Tom Careless by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. Good people all, I pray give ear unto the tale I tell. 'Tis formed to gratify your mind and to instruct you well, to caution men of riper years and to admonish youth. Fiction may fill the improving page and use the voice of truth. Tom Careless was a merry lad, and who will mirth despise? But he, like many other wits, more merry was than wise. Tom was a working carpenter, yet while he plied his trade, his tongue moved faster than his hands, and less was done than said. He told his tale, he cracked his joke, he was a perfect droll, and of each jovial drinking set was both the life and soul. On such a character as this, some did with envy gaze, while others wiser saw much more to pity than to praise. For Tom, with all his merriment, that made such mighty rout, had taken vice and folly in, and quite shut wisdom out. He neither looked nor cared beyond the present passing hour. Alas, now see his sky o'ercast, and storms begin to lower. A burning fever seized his frame, look how he pants for breath, and in his vitals feels transfixed the envenomed dart of death. He feels and shudders at the stroke, he turns but keeps his pain. He looks with eager eyes for help, but human help is vain. Now conscience from her slumber wakes, and with a dismal cry proclaims the vices of his life, and summons him to die. To die, to leave the present world, to yield his vital breath, to close his eyes on life, and tread the dark, dark vale of death. To see the uplifted stroke that must his soul and body sever, and then to lose the light of life, forever and forever. 'Twas more than human strength could bear, the agonizing strife, sunk his distracted spirits down, close to the verge of life. Then his fellow workmen came, with Careless to condole, who talked of former scenes of mirth, to cheer his troubled soul. But ah, when conscience sorely smarts, whose spirit can endure? When God inflicts the mighty wound, what mortal hand can cure? Outstretched, his flesh all trembling lies, he heaves a mournful sigh, attempts to raise his aching head, and ope his languid eye. On the companions of his life he casts a dismal look, and laboring with conflicting thoughts, thus the sad silence broke. Ah, ye do well to see a wretch whose peace and health are fled. Ye knew him once in festive scenes, now on his dying bed. But oh, forever from my mind hide every guilty joy, or they've polluted all my life, and will my soul destroy. In sickness, pain, decay, and death, what agonies ye bring, all pointed with the envenomed barb of sin's eternal sting. But have ye no sweet hope to give, no comfort to supply? Must I still languish and despair, and then, must I die? How can my naked spirit stand before a righteous God? Who shall hide me from his eye, or shield me from his rod? Oh, what a load of guilt I feel! My anguish who can tell? My sins will shut me out of heaven, and sink me down to hell. By all the miseries which I feel, by all the wrath I dread, by heaven's just vengeance soon to fall on my devoted head, I charge you to forsake your sins, and to the Saviour fly. O may he bless you while you live, and save you when you die. But as for me, can mercy come, called for with parting breath? He said, and straight his quivering lips forever closed in death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To My Sister on Her Bridal by Anna Cora Mollett. Read for LibriVox.org by K. Taylor 07. June 6, 2020. www.tla.wapshotpress.org. A myrtle wreath with rosebuds white I bound upon thy brow. The myrtle told thy changeless love, the buds were pure as thou. And o'er the locks that round thy face in shining clusters hung, with hands that love their tender task, the bridal veil I flung. I watched the smiles and tears that formed hope's rainbows on thy cheek, and read the thoughts within thy soul, the thoughts thou couldst not speak. I led thy bridegroom to thy side, and caught the fervent tone that whispered in thy happy ear, forever mine, mine own. From round my neck thine arms were loosed to meet his dear embrace, while teardrops vanished from thy cheek and blushes took their place. How have I loved thee, whom all love, not warmest words can tell. I scarce could bear to yield thee thus to one whom loved thee well. O happy bridegroom of a bride, as fair in soul as face, forget not that her father's hearth she left thy hearth to grace. Forget not that her only home is now within thy heart. Remember that her happiness is only where thou art. And when she trembling clings to thee upon life's troubled wave, O shield her from the angry blast she is not wont to brave. Gentle she is, and formed to list affection's voice alone. Thou wilt not teach her timid ear the sound of harsher tone? I trembled not to hear her breathe a vow 'twere crime to break. Her love is founded on the rock that tempest cannot shake. I shrank not when the bridal ring her slender finger pressed, for joy was in its circlet bound, and heaven the pledge had blessed. I trembled not to see her hand within her bridegroom's lie, for truth that in his spirit dwells was beaming from his eye. Thus, hand in hand, as fondly knit, be life's rude pathway trod, with hearts in meekness bowed and eyes turned trustingly to God. And may the bond that binds you now unite your spirits ever, that ruthless death, who breaks all ties, may fail that tie to sever. And when ye seek the better land, where love conjoins alone, that nuptial vow ye may renew before your Maker's throne. End of poem. This reading is in the public domain.
When the Eye of Day is Shut by Alfred Edward Housman. Read for LibriVox.org by Faherty. When the eye of day is shut, and the stars deny their beams, and about the forest hut blows the roaring wood of dreams. From deep clay from desert rock, from the sunk sands of the main, come not at my door to knock, hearts that loved me not again. Sleep, be still, turn to your rest, in the lands where you are laid. In far lodgings, east and west, lie down on the beds you made. In gross marl, in blowing dust, in the drowned ooze of the sea, where you would not, lie you must, and not with me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When We Two Parted by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Princess Moirfor. When we two parted, in silence and tears, half broken-hearted to sever for years, pale grew thy cheek and cold, colder thy kiss. Truly that hour foretold sorrow to this. The dew of the morning sunk chill on my brow. It felt like the warning of what I feel now. Thy vows are all broken, and light is thy fame. I hear thy name spoken, and share in its shame. They name thee before me, and knelt in mine ear. A shudder comes o'er me, why wert thou so dear? They know not I knew thee, who knew thee too well. Long, long shall I rue thee, too deeply to tell. In secret we met, in silence I grieve, that thy heart could forget, thy spirit deceive. If I should meet thee after long years, how should I greet thee? With silence and tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winter Dusk by Walter Delamere, read by Daniel Davison for LibriVox.org. Winter Dusk. Dark frost was in the air without, the dusk was still with cold and gloom, when less than even a shadow came and stood within the room. But of the three around the fire, none turned a questioning head to look. Still read a clear voice on and on, still stooped they o'er their book. The children watched their mother's eyes, moving on softly, line to line. It seemed to listen to that shade, yet made no outward sign. The fire flames crooned a tiny song, no cold wind moved the wintry tree. The children both in fairy dreamed beside their mother's knee. And ne'er yet the spirit drew above that heedless one, intent only on what the simple words of her small story meant. No voiceless sorrow grieved her mind, no memory her bosom stirred, nor dreamed she as she read to two, 'twas surely three who heard. Yet when, the story done, she smiled from face to face, serene and clear, a love half dread sprang up as she leaned close and drew them near. End of Winter Dusk by Walter Delamere. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Witchcraft by a Picture by John Donne. Read for LibriVox.org by Jeanne Viray. I fix mine eye on thine, and there pity my picture burning in thine eye. My picture drowned in a transparent tear, when I look lower I espy. Hadst thou the wicked skill by pictures made and marred to kill, how many ways mightest thou perform thy will? But now I've drunk thy sweet salt tears, and though thou pour more, I'll depart. My picture vanished, vanish all fears that I can be endamaged by that art. Though thou retain of me one picture more, yet that will be, being in thine own heart, from all malice free. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The History of Will Worthy and Nancy Wilmot by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. In vain the living soul may strive for happiness below. This world no solid joy can give, nor lasting peace bestow. Will Worthy was a sprightly lad as ever trod the mead. He thought no cares could make him sad, while pleasure took the lead. Dexterous at all the rustic games, he oft his strength displayed. Now the swift race his breast inflames, by emulation swayed. At every country fair and wake, Will was the wonder there. Fair females crowded for his sake, and strove his smiles to share. Sweet Nancy Wilmot of the Vale won William's roving heart. To her he told love's tender tale, now nothing could them part. To church they went, the knot was tied, the day was spent in glee, inviting all to them allied to join their jollity. The self-same eve, when on the green Will danced with Nance his bride, lo, what a sad reverse of scene! She fainted, drooped, and died. Dismay and horror seized each soul when this sad news was known. For her the passing bell did toll eternity her home. Like the weak grass, or tender flower, or vapor's empty breath, sweet Nancy withered in an hour, cut down by sudden death. William bewailed her early fate, a prey to woe and grief. Pensive, forlorn, and wan he sat, and would have no relief. The question, if her soul was safe, gave poignancy to woe. Should hell have followed sudden death, would she not thither go? From brooding on her doubtful lot, now fixed for ever sure, his mind now turned its every thought to his sick soul and cure. How shall I flee from wrath to come? Where hide my guilty head? Should I next go to my long home, where shall I be? He said. He bade adieu to sinful joy, and traced the moral page. The fine-clad sentiment could cloy, but not his grief assuage. No, he had tried all these in vain, all empty, void, and waste. They served but to increase his pain, involving ruin fast. Thus baffled, wearied, and distressed, he did a Bible see. There found a prayer for one oppressed, Lord, undertake for me. To church on Sundays he had been, as others come and go, but ne'er by faith had Jesus seen, or heard what Christ could do. Until with circumcised ear, he, when at church one day, found mercy to his soul draw near, which to his heart did say, Come unto me, thou weary soul, laden with numerous sins. No case so bad that can control my grace where it begins. Why so disquieted art thou with sins and fears and care? Lo, the accepted time is now, though lost, do not despair. Lost in yourself, in Christ there's hope, and never till you're lost, relinquish every other prop, and then you'll prize him most. 'Twas such he came to seek and save, and could he come in vain? And if no other hope you have, you need no more complain. The sermon ended, Will went home, stepped up and locked his door, fell on his knees before God's throne, and mercy did implore. Mercy he found, and after lived daily on Christ by faith. To Jesus lived while he survived, triumphant was in death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.